Welcome to my channel. Have you ever tried to speak English but your brain goes silent or translates every word? You are not alone. Thinking in English is the key to fluency, and today I will show you how to do it, step by step. Comment below. Do you still translate in your head, or do you speak naturally? Let's talk. Chapter 1. When I couldn't think in English. I still remember the first time I tried to speak English. My friend asked me a simple question, "How are you?" But my brain stopped working. I heard the question, I knew what it meant, but I didn't know how to answer. My mind went blank. I started thinking in my own language. Then I tried to translate it into English. But it was too slow, too confusing, too hard. I said nothing, I just smiled. My friend waited, but I stayed quiet. I was too scared to speak. I didn't want to make a mistake. I didn't want to look foolish. That moment stayed in my memory. I felt like I had failed, not because I didn't know English, but because I didn't know how to think in English. Every time I wanted to say something, I first had to think in my language, then find English words, then make a sentence. It took time. It made me nervous. By the time I finished translating in my head, the moment was gone. The conversation had already moved on. I felt left behind. I felt slow. I felt like English was not for me. At school, it was the same. The teacher asked questions in English. I understood a little, but when I tried to speak, I had to translate every word. I looked down at my book. I didn't want the teacher to call my name. My classmates were quick. They answered fast. They didn't need to translate. They spoke straight from their mind. But I was stuck, moving words from one language to another. At home, I practiced English. I wrote words. I read sentences. I listened to English songs. But when it was time to speak, I still froze. I still thought in my first language. It was like a wall between my brain and my mouth. I knew something was wrong. I was learning English words. I was studying grammar, but I was not thinking in English. One night, I sat alone. I felt frustrated. I thought, why am I not improving? I asked myself a simple question. Do I ever think in English? The answer was no. I only studied English. I never lived in it. My brain was still using my native language all day, even during English class.
I was thinking in my own words.
That's when I realized the problem was not my speaking. The problem was in my thinking. That night, I made a decision. I told myself, from tomorrow, I will start thinking in English. I didn't know how. I didn't know if I could do it, but I was ready to try.
I wanted to change something.
I was tired of being silent, tired of feeling slow, tired of feeling behind. I wanted to speak freely.
I wanted to speak without translating.
I wanted to think in English. The next morning, I woke up.
I tried something new.
Instead of saying main uta in my native tongue, I said in my mind, I wake up. Then, I go to the bathroom. I wash my face. I brush my teeth. These were small sentences, but they were mine. I was not speaking out loud. I was speaking in my brain. It felt strange. It felt slow, but it felt like a new beginning. That day, I walked to school. On the way, I looked at things.
A tree, a dog, a car. I tried to say them in English in my mind.
That is a tree. A dog is running. A red car is fast. These were small thoughts, but they were important. They were training my brain to think in English, not just learn it, but think it. At school, I listened more carefully. I tried to think in English during the lessons. I stopped translating everything. I let the English words enter my head and stay there. I didn't always understand, but I tried. I accepted that I would not get everything, but if I kept thinking in English, I would get better, slowly, day by day. That week was hard. My brain wanted to go back to my native language. It was easier, faster, but I kept going. I said to myself, no, keep thinking in English. Even if it's simple, even if it's wrong, just keep going. After a few days, something amazing happened. I was walking with my classmate. She asked, "Are you free this weekend?" And I answered, without thinking in my language, "Yes, I'm free. Why?" It came out naturally. I didn't translate. I didn't plan. It just came from my mind. That was the moment I knew I was changing. I was not just learning English, I was becoming English in my mind. That was the first small success. It gave me hope. It told me, you can do this. I smiled the whole day, not because of a big achievement, but because I thought and spoke without translation. That moment changed everything for me. It was not the end, it was just the beginning. If you also freeze while speaking, if you also translate everything, if your brain becomes empty when someone talks in English, I understand you. I was there. But I changed. And if I can do it, you can too. You don't need to speak perfectly. You just need to think in English first. Your words will follow. Let's take this journey together, step by step, word by word, thought by thought. It begins now. Chapter 2. What is thinking in English, and why it's different? When I first heard people say, "You must think in English,"
I didn't understand what they meant.
I thought, but how can I do that? I think in my language. That's natural for me. I believed thinking in English was only for people who grew up with it. People who watched cartoons in English. People who lived in America or the UK. Not for someone like me. But I was wrong. Thinking in English is not magic. It is not a gift. It is a habit. Just like brushing your teeth every morning or tying your shoes. It's something you train your brain to do. I didn't believe it at first. But then I started doing something small, something simple. I stopped saying everything in my native language. I started saying little things in English, just in my mind. I remember one morning I woke up. I looked around and said to myself, "This is my bed. It is soft. I feel tired." I didn't speak out loud. I just said it in my brain. I was slow. I made mistakes, but I kept going.
I told myself, this is how I will train my brain.
Thinking in English means using English when you talk to yourself. Yes, we all talk to ourselves. When we look at our phone and think, "I need to reply later." When we see food and think, "This looks good." When we're tired and think, "I want to rest." These are small thoughts, but they are powerful because they are with you all day. When I started changing those small thoughts into English, something strange happened. I didn't need to pause when speaking anymore. I didn't need to translate every word. I just said what I was already thinking, in English. It was faster. It was easier. It felt natural. Before, I would think, "Okay, what's that in English? I am hungry." Now my mind says directly, "I am hungry." No translation, just thinking and speaking. That is the difference. When you translate in your head, your brain is doing double work. First, it understands in one language. Then it tries to find the words in English. That takes time. And in conversation, time is short. People don't wait. You feel pressure. You feel lost. That is why translating does not work. You need to think in English, so you can speak in English. I also learned something important. Thinking in English does not mean thinking in perfect grammar. It means using simple words, short sentences, everyday thoughts. You don't need to say, "According to the situation, I am experiencing fatigue." You just say, "I feel tired." That's real English, easy English, the kind people use in daily life. At first, my thoughts in English were very simple. I like this. This is bad. I am walking. It is hot today. But these small thoughts helped me grow. They were like seeds in my brain, and every day I thought in English, those seeds became trees, trees full of words, full of confidence, full of fluency. One day I was walking home from school. I looked up and said in my mind, "The sky is blue today. It looks peaceful." I smiled, not because the sky was beautiful, but because my brain said it in English, without translating. That moment felt special. That was the moment I truly believed I can think in English. And when I could think in English, I could also speak in English. Many learners ask me, "But isn't it hard? Isn't it slow?" I tell them the truth. Yes, at first it is hard. At first it is slow, but only for a little while. After a few days or weeks, your brain starts to change. It becomes faster. It gets used to the new habit. You don't even notice you're thinking in English anymore. It just happens. That's why I always say, don't wait for perfect grammar. Don't wait for big words. Start thinking in small, baby English. Say simple things to yourself. Repeat them, build them, grow them. This is how you train your brain. One big moment in my journey came when I watched a cartoon.
It was a simple show. A character was walking, and he said,
I lost my keys. My brain repeated it automatically. I lost my keys. I smiled. I didn't plan it. I didn't try. My brain just picked it up because I was already thinking in English. This is how it works. You think in English, you listen in English, you repeat in English, and slowly you live in English. Even if you're not in an English-speaking country, your brain doesn't need a visa. It just needs a habit. So today, I want you to try something. Wherever you are, stop for 1 minute. Look around. Say what you see in English, in your mind. This is my phone. My hands are cold. A bird is flying. It is quiet here. Anything. Just try. That is how you begin. That is how your journey starts. That is how I started too. You don't need books to think in English. You need courage, you need habit, and you need to believe that your brain can learn this, just like mine did. You are not too late. You are not too weak. You just need to begin.
Chapter 3. The Day I Stopped Translating. I still remember the exact day it happened. The day I stopped translating every English word in my head. It was a normal day. I didn't plan it. I didn't expect anything special. But something inside me changed. And that small change made a big difference. I was walking to the market. EK. The weather was nice. The sun was soft. The road was quiet. I looked around and started talking to myself, not in my language, but in English. I said, I'm going to the market. Then I need to buy some apples. Then I hope they are fresh today. These were small thoughts, but they came fast. I didn't stop to translate. I didn't pause. You know, the sentences came from my mind like water from a tap. And that's when I realized I was thinking in English. Before that day, I always had to stop and think first in my language, then try to find the English words. It felt heavy. It felt slow. But that day the words came without effort. It felt light. It felt natural. I smiled, not because I was speaking English, but because I was finally thinking in English. This didn't happen suddenly. It happened because of small habits. For many days, I had been practicing little thoughts in English. I trained my brain every morning and night. I said things like, I am brushing my teeth. It's raining today. I am feeling tired. These small thoughts added up. They became stronger every day. My brain got used to them. And then one day it stopped needing translation. That moment was a big spike in my journey because, for the first time, I felt free. Free from translation. Free from fear. Free from the feeling of being slow. I was not perfect. My grammar was not perfect. My words were still simple. But I was thinking in English. And that changed everything. Later that same day, something even more powerful happened. At the market, a shopkeeper asked me, "Do you want anything else?" Without thinking, I said, "No, that's all. Thank you." It came out naturally. No fear, no planning, no translation. Just a sentence from my mind to my mouth. I didn't even realize it until I walked away. Then I stopped and smiled. "Peng," I said to myself, "you did it. You just answered in English without thinking in your language first." That was the real moment. The moment I knew my brain had changed. I no longer needed to translate everything. I was building English directly inside my mind. That night, I sat alone. I thought about that moment again and again. It was small, just one sentence. But it meant a lot to me. It was a sign that my daily practice was working, a sign that I was not wasting time, a sign that I was becoming fluent. I want to be honest with you. Before that day, I often felt frustrated. I thought I would never stop translating. I thought it would take years. I felt tired. I wanted to give up. But I didn't. I told myself to keep going, even if it's slow, even if it's hard. And I'm glad I did, because that moment at the market showed me something. It showed me that thinking in English is not something big and far away. It's not something only smart people can do. It's not something you have to wait years to reach. It's something you build step by step, day by day, thought by thought. From that day, my confidence grew. I started speaking more. I made more mistakes. But I also learned more. I no longer feared the silence in my head, because now the silence was filled with English thoughts. If you are watching this and still translating everything, I want to tell you something important. It will not always be this way. Your brain can change. It just needs practice. It needs time. But more than that, it needs belief. You must believe that you can think in English. Even if today you can't. Even if today you feel slow. Even if today your mind goes blank. Because one day, just like me, you will speak without planning. You will reply without translating. You will think in English without even noticing. And that will be the day you remember, forever. You won't remember what you said. You will remember how you felt. That lightness, that flow, that freedom. That day will come for you too. But it starts now with one small habit, one simple line. Can't. Say to yourself, I can think in English. Say it every morning. Say it during your walks. Say it before you sleep. Your brain is ready. It just needs your permission. So give it. Chapter 4. How I trained my brain to think in English daily. When I first heard people say, "Train your brain to think in English," I felt confused. I asked myself, how can I train my brain? It sounded like something difficult, something only smart people could do. But later, I found out it was not hard. It was simple. I just needed small, daily steps. I just needed a habit. At that time, I didn't speak English fluently. My brain always translated. Every word, every sentence, everything came first in my native language. Hmm? Then I changed it to English. That's why I was slow. That's why I was silent. That's why I was afraid. But then, one evening, I sat quietly. I took a notebook and wrote one sentence. Today, I will think in English. That one line became my new rule, my new life, my new practice. The next morning, I woke up. I looked at the ceiling, and I said in my mind, I am waking up. That was my first thought in English. Then I sat up. I am sitting. Then I walked to the bathroom. I am walking. I am brushing. I am washing my face. These were simple thoughts, but they were all in English. I didn't use big grammar. I didn't think too much. I just followed my actions. Whatever I did, I said it in English in my mind, slowly, clearly, again and again. That was my first daily training, describing my actions in English. It, it worked because I didn't need any book. I didn't need a teacher. I just needed myself and my daily routine. After a few days, I added something new. I started to describe things around me. This bed is soft. The window is open. My shirt is blue. The tea is hot. These were my second step. Describing things I saw around me in English. I didn't speak out loud. I just spoke in my brain. I used simple words. If I didn't know a word, I used another word or I skipped it. I didn't stop. I kept going because I knew this was my training. One day, while walking on the street, I saw a tree. I didn't just say, "This is a tree." I said, "The tree is tall. Its leaves are green. The wind is moving them." And then I smiled because I was not translating anymore. I was thinking directly in English. That was the moment I realized my brain was learning the new way. The English way. Another thing I did every day was asking myself small questions. What time is it? What will I do today? What do I want to eat? How do I feel? These were my thinking questions. I answered them in English, even if the answers were short. I feel sleepy. I want rice. I don't know yet. These were small full. This was my third training step. Self-talk questions in English, and it helped a lot. I made a list of daily questions and read them every morning. I answered them every day. Sometimes I said the same answers. But I didn't care. I was not doing it for grammar. I was doing it for fluency, for habit, for confidence. Then came the best part. I started to use my imagination. At night, before sleeping, I closed my eyes. I imagined myself in a shop. I imagined talking to someone. Hello, can I buy this? How much is it? Thank you. Have a nice day. Or I imagined I was in a park. It's a nice day. The sky is blue, children are playing. I didn't speak these words. I just imagined them. I just thought them in English. Hey. That was the fourth step. Imaginary English scenes in my mind. This was powerful because it felt real. My brain didn't know if it was real or not. It just practiced. And slowly my brain became faster, more confident, more comfortable. I also started watching English videos. But I changed one thing. I didn't just listen, Cone. I paused the video and repeated the words in my mind. I said the next line before the speaker or after him. This helped me copy their speed, their words, their feelings. I shadowed them in my brain. That was my fifth training. Silent shadowing practice. Day by day, I felt the change. My brain started to feel different. Hey. It didn't look for my first language anymore. It looked for English words. I started thinking faster. I started feeling more fluent. I was not translating. I was living in English, even without speaking. Some people ask me, "Did you go to a course?" I said, "No. I just trained my brain every day in simple ways, in small ways, but with big belief. And that belief, that small decision, changed my life." If you are still thinking in your language, if you are still slow when you speak, if you still feel blocked inside your head, I understand. But please remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Today. Now, say your first English sentence in your brain. Look around. Say what you see. Ask yourself questions. Describe your actions. Use your imagination. Make it a habit. Because when you train your brain, your words will follow. And one day, without fear, without planning, you will speak English like it's part of you. Chapter 5. Shadowing helped me think in English faster. One day, I found something that changed the speed of my English thinking. It was something simple, but it worked like magic. It was called shadowing. I didn't know what shadowing meant at first. I thought it was something difficult. But then I watched a video. The person said, "Listen to English," then repeated immediately. Copy the speaker's words, tone, and speed. That was it. No grammar, no textbook, just listening and copying. I wanted to try it. I wanted to see if it could help me think in English faster. So I picked a short video on YouTube. It was a cartoon clip. The characters spoke slowly. Their sentences were simple. I played the first line. A boy said, "Let's go to the park." I paused, then I said it too. "Let's go to the park." At first, I was slow. I said the words without emotion, just like a robot. But I tried again. This time I listened and repeated right away. No pause, just like an echo. I was surprised. It felt strange but exciting. I was copying someone's English. I was speaking with rhythm, with feeling, with real speed. And for the first time, I was not thinking in my language. I was only copying in English. I practiced more. I played another line. It's a sunny day, I said. It's a sunny day. Then another, let's play football. I repeated, let's play football. My voice followed their voice. My brain followed their brain. That was the moment I discovered something powerful. When you shadow, your brain doesn't have time to translate. It can't go back to your native language because you are too busy listening and speaking at the same time. It's like running behind someone. You don't stop, you just follow. That's why shadowing helped me so much. It forced my brain to think directly in English. I didn't need to understand every word. I didn't need to be perfect. I just needed to copy again and again. Slowly, my brain started to feel the rhythm of English. K. It started to remember whole sentences, not just words. I did this every day. I made a new routine. First, I found a video. It had to be short, simple, and slow. Second, I listened to one sentence. Third, I shadowed the sentence with the same voice, the same speed, the same feeling. Fourth, I played it again and shadowed it again. Fifth, I moved to the next line. Each session was 10 minutes, not more. But those 10 minutes changed my fluency. Sometimes I did shadowing out loud. Sometimes I did it in my head. When I was on the bus or walking or sitting quietly, I whispered the sentences. I copied them in my mind. This helped me train without anyone noticing. It was private practice. After a week, I noticed something. My brain started saying things automatically in English, just like the lines I shadowed. It's a sunny day. I'm feeling good. Let's go for a walk. These lines became part of me. I didn't translate them. I didn't build them. I just thought them like a native speaker. Shadowing did something special. It showed me how English sounds. Not just the words, but the music of the language. The pauses, the speed, the emotion. It helped me feel English, not just study it. One day, I was talking to a friend. He said something in English. I answered fast, without thinking, without fear. He smiled. Your English is getting better. I smiled too, because I knew why. It was because of shadowing. If you are still thinking in your language, yo. If you still speak slowly, if your words don't come easily, try shadowing. Find a video. Start small. Use short lines. Copy the speaker. Don't stop. Even if it feels weird, even if you make mistakes, keep going. Because shadowing is not about speaking perfectly. It's about training your brain to speak without thinking. And when that happens, your English becomes fast, clear, and natural. So do it today. Shadow one sentence, then another. Let your mind follow English. Let your voice copy English. Let your brain become faster, one line at a time. You will be amazed at how quickly you start to think in English. Chapter 6. My one-line habit that changed everything. Sometimes small things change your life. Not big things, not long study sessions, not difficult grammar books, just one small habit, just one small idea. And for me, that idea was one line a day. Yes, just one line. One English sentence every morning. It started on a cold morning. I was tired. I didn't feel like learning anything. My books were closed. My mind felt slow. I looked in the mirror and whispered, "Today is a good day." That was all. Just that. But something felt different. That line stayed in my mind the whole day. Today is a good day. I thought it while brushing my teeth. I repeated it while walking. I said it again before sleeping. It was a simple sentence, but it stayed. It became part of my thoughts. And most importantly, it was in English. The next morning, I tried again. I stood in front of the mirror. I looked at myself and I said, "I will speak better English today." That sentence was my promise. It gave me motivation. It gave me focus. It gave me power. Corey. So I made it a daily habit. Every day, I created one simple English line. One sentence from my life, my feelings, my plans, anything. Some days it was, "I feel happy today. I have a lot to do. I want to eat something sweet. My room is a mess. Let's learn something new." These lines were short, but they were real. They came from my life. They came from my heart, and that made them powerful. This one-line habit helped me in many ways. First, it gave me a reason to think in English every day, even on busy days. Even when I had no time, I always had time for one line. Second, it trained my brain to create original sentences. Not just copy, not just repeat, but create. Third, it made me feel proud. That sentence was mine. I made it. I owned it. It was proof that I could think in English. After 1 week, I had 7 sentences. 2. After 1 month, I had sensors. I wrote them in a notebook. I called it my English brain book. Sometimes I looked back at old sentences. I smiled. I could see my journey. I could see how my sentences were growing, becoming stronger, becoming longer, becoming more natural. This small habit created a big spike in my thinking speed. Before this, I used to sit for hours and try to write long paragraphs. It felt heavy. I often gave up. But one line, that felt easy, that felt light. And because it was easy, I did it every day. No stress, no pressure. And that's the secret. When something is small, your brain says, "Yes, I can do this." And when you do it again and again, your brain starts to change. It becomes faster. It becomes stronger. It becomes trained. One day I was walking home and I saw a dog chasing a ball. Without thinking, I said in my mind, "That dog is very excited." That line came fast. I didn't plan it. I didn't translate it. I just thought it in English. That was the result of my habit. One line a day, every day, for weeks. If you are watching this and struggling to think in English, if you feel stuck, if your brain still goes back to your native language, try this habit right now. Think of one sentence. Something real. Something true. Say it in English. Say it again. Say it slowly. Let it live in your mind. Then tomorrow, make another one. Write it down. Repeat it. Think it. Feel it. This is not just English practice. It's brain training. It's how you teach your mind to speak English like it's your first language. So what will your line be today? Tell me in the comments. Let's share our one-line habits. Let's build this together. One small sentence at a time, because one line a day can change your whole English journey. Chapter 7. What I did when I got stuck. Even after all my practice, even after building good habits, there were still moments when I got stuck. My brain became quiet. I couldn't find the words. I couldn't make the sentence. I felt like I was back at the beginning. It was frustrating. I had been doing well. I was thinking in English every day. I was speaking more. But suddenly I stopped. My thoughts didn't come. I felt like everything had disappeared from my head. I wanted to speak, but nothing came out. In those moments, I felt small. I felt slow. I felt like giving up. But then I realized something. Getting stuck was not failure. It was part of the journey. It was a sign that I was growing. My brain was trying something new. And sometimes, when we try something new, we feel lost. That's normal. I told myself to stay calm. I told myself not to panic. I told myself, it's okay. You're learning. You're training your mind. I remembered the times. I got stuck in my native language as a child. I didn't always have the words back then either, but I kept going. I learned. I improved. English was the same. When I got stuck, I used tricks. Simple tricks, powerful tricks. First, I used easy words. If I didn't know the perfect word, I used a simple one. If I didn't know exhausted, I said very tired. If I forgot delicious, I said very good taste. I learned to explain things, not to search for big words, but to say what I meant in a simple way. I stopped trying to be perfect. I just tried to be clear. This helped me move forward. I didn't pause for long. I kept speaking. I kept thinking, even with small words. Another thing I did was describe the word I didn't know. If I forgot the word refrigerator, I said the big cold box in the kitchen. If I forgot raincoat, I said the jacket you wear when it rains. People understood me. And more than that, my brain kept working in English. I didn't return to my native language. I stayed inside English. That was important, because staying in English, even with mistakes, trained my mind to stay strong. I also used my hands. I pointed. I moved, I showed. If I forgot a word, I acted it out. I made small gestures. I smiled. I laughed. I stayed human. This made the conversation easier. It made people feel comfortable with me. And most importantly, it helped me speak when my brain was stuck. Movement helped my mind. It made the English come back. Sometimes I just paused and said, "Wait, let me think." I gave myself a few seconds. I let my mind breathe. Then I continued. Before, I thought pauses were bad. I thought silence was failure. But no, pauses are normal. Even native speakers pause. Even they forget words. Even they say, what's the word? I learned that silence is okay. Thinking is okay. Taking a breath is okay. It's part of speaking. There were days when I didn't want to practice. I felt tired. I felt slow. But I still did one small thing. I still made one thought in English. Truquin. Even if I said only one sentence in my mind, even if I just looked at my hand and said, "This is my hand," that was enough. It told my brain, we are still going. We are not giving up. This habit helped me stay connected to English even on hard days. Hibbies, you know. I also remembered to be kind to myself, to say good things, to be patient. I didn't say, "I'm stupid. I can't speak." I said, "It's okay. I'm learning. I'm trying. I will improve." These small words helped me feel strong. They gave me energy. They reminded me why I started. And I asked for help. I wasn't afraid. I asked my friends, "What's the word for this?" I asked my teacher, Can I say it like this?" I used a dictionary. I searched online. And slowly my words came back. I understood something powerful. Getting stuck is not the end. It's the beginning of learning. It's a doorway. When you get stuck, your brain is trying to build a new connection. If you push gently, that door will open. One of the most powerful moments was when I got stuck during a conversation and I kept going. I said the wrong word. How? I laughed. The other person laughed, too. But they understood me. They didn't care about my mistake. They cared that I was trying. That moment gave me so much courage. I thought, if I can survive this, I can survive anything. And from that day, I was less afraid. So, if you get stuck while thinking in English, if your brain stops, if you feel slow, remember that is a good sign. It means you are growing. It means your brain is working hard. Don't run away. Don't switch back to your native language. Stay with English. Stay with the process. Use small words. Use your hands. Use your smile. Use silence. And most importantly, use your heart. Because thinking in English is not about speaking fast. It's about never giving up, even when your mind is quiet, even when your words are lost. Keep going. Keep trusting. Your words will come back. Your English will grow. Your brain will learn, just like mine did. Chapter 8. Speaking after thinking, my first conversation. I still remember the first real conversation I had in English after I started thinking in English. It was not in a classroom. It was not part of a lesson. It was a real-life moment, and it changed everything for me. Before that day, I had been thinking in English for weeks. In my mind, I spoke to myself every morning. I described my room, my food, my plans. I shadowed videos. I repeated simple lines. I was building English in my brain, brick by brick. But speaking to someone, that still scared me. What if I forgot words? What if I said something wrong? What if they laughed? My brain was learning, but my mouth still felt afraid. Then one day, something happened. I was sitting in a small cafe. I was alone. I had my notebook and a cup of tea. A tourist walked in. He looked confused. Tay. He didn't know the local language. He asked, "Can I sit here?" I looked up. I froze for a second. Then something amazing happened. My brain didn't translate. It didn't pause. It didn't ask me to build a sentence. It just answered, "Yes, of course." The words came from my mouth like they were always there. Natural, easy. I felt surprised. My brain had already thought the answer in English before I even opened my mouth. He smiled and sat down. After a few minutes, he asked me something else. He said, "Is the food good here?" And again I answered without thinking. I said, "Yes, it's nice. I come here a lot." That was it. But that short reply felt like a big victory. Eh? I didn't search for words. I didn't panic. I didn't translate. I just spoke. And that's when I realized this was my first real conversation in English. Not a school exercise. Not a practice test. A real moment. A real person. A real voice. And I was a part of it. We kept talking. He asked me where I was from. I told him. He said he was traveling. I asked where he had been. He told me stories. I listened. I understood. I smiled. I laughed. I replied. The conversation was not perfect. I made mistakes. I forgot words. But I stayed in English. I stayed present. I stayed confident. And that was the biggest moment in my learning journey that night. I walked home with a smile. I felt something new inside me. Pride. Not the kind of pride that comes from winning a prize. You know? The kind that comes from knowing you worked hard, that you didn't give up. That you kept going even when it was difficult. I looked at the sky and whispered, I did it. I was not just learning English anymore. I was living in it. That one conversation gave me power. It gave me proof that I could do it. And after that, I started speaking more. I joined small conversations. I said hello to people. I asked simple questions. And slowly my words became stronger. My fear became smaller. Hey. My confidence started to grow like a tree. I didn't wait for big moments anymore. I created small ones. In the shop, I asked, "How much is this?" At the bus stop, I said, "Excuse me, is this going to the city?" At the library, I asked, "Can I borrow this book?" These were not big conversations, but they were real, and they came from the English inside my brain. The English I had been thinking for weeks. I understood something important. When you think in English, your brain becomes ready. It holds the words. It builds the sentence before you speak. Then, when the moment comes, the words just fall out of your mouth. You don't need to push them. You don't need to chase them. You just speak, and people understand you, and you understand them. That is the beauty of thinking in English. First, if you are still afraid to speak, if your brain still freezes when someone talks to you, please know it's okay. It happened to me too, many times. But don't give up. Keep thinking in English. Keep building the words in your mind. Keep having silent conversations with yourself. Because one day, someone will ask you something, and you will answer, not from fear, but from confidence, from practice, from your new English mind. You won't need to plan every word. You won't need to translate. You'll just speak. And in that moment, you will feel something powerful. You will feel free. You will feel fluent. You will feel proud of yourself, just like I did. That first conversation was not long. It was not perfect, but it was mine. And it started a new chapter in my English story. And you will have your moment too. Chapter 9. The mistakes that helped me the most. When people talk about learning English, they often talk about success. They say, "I spoke fluently. I read a full book. I had a conversation without fear." But today, I want to talk about something different. I want to talk about my mistakes. Because my mistakes help me more than any textbook, more than any class, more than any app. My mistakes were my greatest teachers. And once I stopped being afraid of them, my English started to grow faster. I remember one day I was at a cafe again. A wait. A waiter came and asked, "Would you like anything else?" I smiled and said, "Yes, I would like tea." He paused, smiled kindly, and said, "You mean you'd like some tea?" I laughed. I nodded. "Yes, I'd like some tea." It was a small mistake, just a wrong word. But that moment stayed with me, not because I was embarrassed, but because I learned something real. After that, I never said it wrong again. Before that, I was scared to make mistakes. I stayed silent many times. I wanted to speak, but I thought, what if I say it wrong? So I said nothing. Orange. I waited for the perfect sentence to appear in my head. But that sentence never came, and I missed so many chances to speak. Then one day I asked myself, what's worse, saying something wrong or saying nothing at all? No. And I realized the answer. Saying nothing was worse. Staying silent was the real mistake. So I changed my thinking. I told myself it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to speak badly. It's okay to try. And that changed everything. I started making mistakes on purpose. Not big ones, but small ones. I used the wrong tense. I used the wrong word. But I kept going. I didn't stop. And every time someone corrected me, I listened. I smiled. I said, "Thank you." Then I practiced that word again and again. That's how I learned. One of my favorite mistakes was when I was talking about the weather. I said, "Today is snowing." My friend laughed and said, "You mean it is snowing?" I laughed too. I felt a little shy, but inside, I felt proud because I had tried. I had made a sentence. It was wrong, but it was brave. And now, whenever it snows, I say the sentence correctly because of that mistake. Sometimes I mixed up words. I said kitchen instead of chicken, or beach instead of... Yes, that mistake was a big one. People laughed. I laughed too. It was funny and a little embarrassing. But those are the moments you never forget. And because I laughed, the lessons stayed in my brain. That's how learning works. The more emotion, the deeper the memory. I made grammar mistakes too. Many times I said, "He go to school." Someone corrected me, "He goes to school." I said, "I can to swim." They said, "No, I can swim." It happened again and again. But I didn't stop. I saw each mistake as a light showing me the right path. And the more I walked that path, the easier it became. Sometimes I made mistakes and no one corrected me. No one corrected me. But later, when I read a book or watched a video, I found the right way and I smiled. I said, "Ah, now I understand." That's why it's important to keep learning even after you make mistakes. Don't stop. Don't feel bad. Just keep going because mistakes are part of the journey. They are proof that you are trying. Now, when I help other English learners, I tell them the same thing. Make mistakes. Don't be afraid. Make many. Learn from all of them. When you see English learners who speak well, don't think they are perfect. No. They made hundreds of mistakes, thousands. But they didn't stop. They made mistakes with courage, and that courage gave them fluency. My biggest mistake was being afraid to speak, being afraid to be wrong. That fear wasted time. If I had started speaking earlier, even with broken English, I would have improved faster. But now I understand. Every broken sentence I said helped me build a better one. Later. So if you're watching this and you feel scared, if your mouth wants to speak, but your brain says, "What if I say it wrong?" I understand you. I've been there. But please, don't wait for perfect English. Don't wait for the best word. Don't wait for the best moment. Just speak. Just try. Just let your mistakes teach you. Because when you make mistakes, you are not failing. You are growing. You are building the real English inside you. Not classroom English. Not exam English. But living English. Human English. The kind people speak. The kind people understand. So today, say something. Anything. Say it wrong. Say it with mistakes. Then smile. Then try again. Because that's how I learned. That's how everyone learns. And that's how you will learn too.